webinar, which is organized by CSI MBSR student branch. And this web development is by Mr. Kiran Kumar sir. Let me introduce you to our speaker with a short bio. Mr. Kiran Kumar sir is a certified Scrum Master, worked in Agile and also Extreme Programming XP. He managed a maximum team size of 130 resources across 2 projects and multiple locations. For the revenue across these 2 projects was around 55 million USD. He also managed customer goods and services projects too. He is a proficient in executing the projects from the concept stage through analysis and design development, and also the testing, implementation, and post-implementation support, achieving highest customer satisfaction. He also led the design, development, implementation of the large and complex web and a client server applications. So, sir, I now request you to continue the session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank
you. Hi all. Hope you are all doing good and safe as of now in this particular kind of a crisis that we have. So all are fine, right? Everyone is doing good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So okay, I am Kiran Kumar. I have around 21 plus years of experience in software, and I've said multiple roles like of a delivery manager, the program manager, technical architect, and business analyst wherever required as such across multiple projects. And then I've also conducted many trainings like in corporate based on technical and behavioral. I've conducted trainings on C++, Java, Oracle, SAP, NetWeaver basically in SAP, and then behavioral trainings like achieving meeting results, PMP, etc. Okay. So I just want to go ahead and give another thing of my story. I actually started with C and C++ initially when I was working in the year 1998 around. And then I cleared my Java certification with Sun Microsystems and then moved to Java and Oracle. Later, when I was shifting my company, I moved into SAP NetWeaver. Then I was working on with WebSphere, currently NoSQL databases, Google, Golang, and also cloud as of now. So one thing that was more constant was only change. So I've been completely changing different technologies as and when I'm moving around for different companies and different roles as such. So what I would actually request you people to always be in touch with the market, understand what's happening in the market, and then try to see and try to learn things which are going to be helpful for you in the near future as such. So of which of these web development is one of crucial technologies. I mean, you cannot call it technology. Web development is a concept basically where the multiple technologies are involved in this, which are going to help you at least go for a start, because based on web development, you can as well move into full stack, and there's a growth path where you can move from web development to subsequently to a full stack. And then currently, as of now, full stack people are really getting pretty good salaries across the world. They're getting very good salaries as such. So that should be an icing for you guys. So let's start off. Okay. The first thing, who is a web developer? Okay, a web developer, or you can say so also called as someone called, you can call it as a programmer who takes a web design. So do you understand the difference between design and development? Design is generally a prototype given to us, and it is just a static prototype which is going to be given mostly by the clients, which also nowadays we call it as the UI, where they're going to give the UI screens for us to develop, and then we are going to develop it using different technologies based on whatever the client requires us, client requirement is. Okay, so web developer or a programmer is someone who takes a web design which has been created by the client or a design time and turns it into a website. So you're going to turn it into a website. So when you're going to turn it into a website, the most important thing that you need to have is something called as a domain name. So example domain names is www.google.com. So it's a domain. So similarly, you need to have your own domain which is unique from other domains. You cannot have two google.coms. Okay, so you should be having your own domain. So for you to create your own domains, there are many particular sites which are there which are going to enable you to by your domain. So I'll just give you an example how you can see it for domain. Maybe you can go to this site, which is godaddy.com. I'm giving you an example. There are many sites which are going to be there for you for creating a domain. So you can actually give your domain name here. Maybe you can say, I want something called as a www dot. Just see something called as make my trip. Okay, makemytrip.com. You try to put it here. It says makemytrip.com is taken because makemytrip already exists, and it gives you other options.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry to interrupt you. Please present your screen, sir.
Screen you're not able to see?
No, sir.
For me, it's saying is stop sharing. It's asking me. Okay, let me see. I think someone else might have in between taken the control. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, resume. Okay. Able to see my screen now? You're able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Fine.
Okay. So I went into godaddy.com and I have typed here www.makemytrip.com and I clicked search here. So when I click search here, it says makemytrip.com is taken. And then it is going to give us different alternatives. So you can use makethistrip.com or makemytrip.store. So it gives you a different kind of domains which are available for us. So, and it also gives you the how much you have to pay on a monthly basis. So you just need to go into for the yearly basis, and then you can just add to cart and purchase it. GoDaddy is going to give you the domain for you. So you can get the domain ready for you, and you can actually put your site in that. Okay. So here, so that's what is this. So web developer or programmer is someone who takes a web design which has to be created by either by client team and turns it into a website. So when you're going to create a website, actually a website would generally be only in your system. So to make it available to the entire world, you need to find out a domain, and then you need to showcase that the website to the entire world. So GoDaddy is one of them, and then there are some other multiple sites which you can check out in your internet. And then sometimes you will be getting quite a very good offers, and sometimes you might also get a website free for 1 year. So that depends on your trying whenever you're going to try up and see. So you'll get a domain name for you free for the first year, and then maybe chargeable on the second year as such. So these people, they do this by writing lines and lines of complicated code, they say, using a variety of languages. So HTML is pretty simple. Going forward, I'll let you know what is it. And then there are other languages which are a bit complex. But anyway, once you're going to go step by step, touching on different technologies and gaining experience, you find the coming up next technologies to be pretty much simpler as such. Okay. So web developers have quite a difficult job because essentially you have to take a language we understand, such as English, and translate it into a language that computer understands. So such as Python or HTML, or there are many other languages as such. Okay. So very simple one-liner. You can create your own site as per the design. You can prepare your design, or you get the design from your client, or you get your design from a supervisor or whoever is it. You will get a design, and then based on the design and requirements, you are going to prepare a website. So that is what is called as that person is called as a web developer. So guys, any questions here? I just want to take a pause here to ask in case if there are any specific questions, I can address them. Or you want the questions to be addressed at the end? How do you think, Rohit? What do you say? Rohit?
So we would like to ask the questions at the end, sir.
Okay, great. Fine.
Yes.
Okay, so this is how is the role of a web developer. So, and then the next step, what is markup language? What is a markup language is what is called. HTML full form is hypertext markup language. So markup language is a computer language that uses different tags. You can say different tags to define elements within a document. So this should be pretty easy for us. It is like a human readable meaning markup files. So I'll just write a very simple what you can say an HTML code which says hello world. Okay, nothing more than that. I can just create something here or not here. And this, okay, let me try something. And this, okay, I'll just create as for you guys. I can say hello.html. Okay. In the HTML, the most common steps are these, which will be there for every HTML file. First one is the doc type is going to be the what is the document type. So we are actually writing HTML code. So HTML is going to be a tag which is called as HTML, and this HTML tag does consist of two tags. One is head, and the slash head is going to be the closer tag. This is going to be an opening tag. For every tag, there will be an opening tag and a closing tag. So similarly, when I write a body, I need to write a slash body tag and then a slash HTML. So this is actually going to complete your HTML. Okay, sorry. And say save it. Okay, so here the title is there. It is actually going to be showing up in your screen when you are going to show up the site in the browser. So I'll say a hello world screen. Okay. So header is where you're going to get the details which are going to be shown as a header, and whatever needs to be displayed in your site is going to be written in your body. So I can say in HTML, let's see a simple things. You are going to have tags ranging from H1 to H6. Okay, I'll just write down here. It's going to be from H1 to H6. Okay, this is based only on the size. Okay, so I'll do one thing for you guys. It's commented. Okay. Fine. So I'll just give you H1 tag. Okay, I can say hello world. Then again, I'll go with the H2 tag for you guys. H2 can say welcome to web development. Okay, then we can say H3 is this title. Hope you all are doing well. We can go for the H4, which says, are you guys attending online classes? This is all again plain English, what you're going to write out here. I'm just writing everything to just showcase you the difference of this all tags. H5, we can say, this is an H5 tag. And the last one is H6. So you have 6 tags, H6, where you can say, please do sanitize your hands and wear masks. Okay, so this is what I'm saving it here. Save. And I can now display this file in your browser, in my browser. So I can go into see where is this stored. It is stored in the HTML5 folder where I've written hello.html. I'm just opening it with Google Chrome browser. So it gives you the all kind of English, whatever I've written right now. It gives you all those details here. This one is H1 tag, which is going to give you a very bold. H2 is a little bit smaller, and similarly H6 is going to be the least smaller of this. So it's nothing but it's just making your markup language where you're going to write your same English related stuff and you're going to embed them in tags. So like this, this is a very simple steps which is only plain English. Like this, you can create a websites basically using with your HTML. Okay. So let's go on next. Okay, so that is what is HTML, which is hypertext markup language. It is human readable, meaning markup files contain standard words rather than typical programming syntax. So here you don't have any syntax as such. What you are writing is going to be a plain English, and you're just going to embed them within tags, which are all going to be user defined, which are all going to be your HTML defined tags. Okay. While several markup languages exist, the two most popular are HTML, which is hypertext markup language, and XML, which is extensible markup language. Okay. The next one is development tools / environment. So you can write your HTML in many tools, many different tools. I can just write down the names here. You can just go ahead and use any of them for your reference. First one, what you can use is Notepad. Very simple. You can just write your Notepad. I can just say Notepad, the same code what I have written. Now here, you can just write down here in your Notepad, open it, and say Control C and paste it here. Let me save this in desktop. Save, and you can just put it as HTML, right? So you can just see if we have an option in HTML. No, it's not there. So okay, say hello world.html. Okay, I'm just saving this in desktop. Okay, I go to the desktop and see where it is stored. Where is it stored? I don't think I stored it in desktop. I think it is stored it in downloads. Is it? No, I think let me store it once again. File save as. It is stored in Windows C. Okay, let me store it in the desktop. Okay. This is what I've stored it. I'll get hello world here. I can say open it in Chrome. You get the same output. So that is one of the editor which you're going to use is hello world, and we are going to use it in Notepad. There are similarly other editors which you can go ahead and use. I'm just going to type them here for your reference. You can use Notepad, then you can use Notepad++. You can use Sublime Text. You can use Atom. You can use Visual Studio Code, which I'm currently using. Visual Studio Code. So, and there are a lot of them. So you can at least go with this. For a startup, you can work on using Notepad and Notepad++. Once you gain more knowledge, we can as well go ahead into Visual Studio and Sublime Text, and then you can use them. Okay, so this is going to be your development and tools and environments where you can write your HTML code. Okay, and then next things I'm going to go ahead and explain you about what is front end, back end, and database. Okay, so just go up here. Front end technologies are basically you are called as the user interface, UI. So what is the one that is being displayed in your browser are always called as your front end technology. So what is being displayed in your browser, the technologies that help out are going to be your front end. So examples of front end are your HTML, your CSS. I'll let you know what CSS is. There are Angular, Vue.js, React.js, which are JavaScript frameworks as such, and also there are Ember.js, Backbone.js, jQuery. So these are all front-end technologies where you can use them to write your code and display it in your browsers. You can display it in any of your browsers. It works on HTML, it works on IE, it works on Firefox, it works on Google Chrome, etc. Okay, so I'll just give you a brief differences between these Angular, Vue.js, and React.js. These three are actually called as JavaScript frameworks. Well, I'll talk to you about this later. Okay, once we come to JavaScript, I'll get back to this. Okay, and these are going to be pretty easy for you to write a lot of code, which is going to be in a framework base rather than writing a code in a just like the earlier code what you have written, and which is not in a framework code. It is just like a statements, HTML statements as such. The next one is backend technologies. Backend technologies is which you are going to be writing it in your server side. So it is going to contain your business logic. So if there is some particular functionality which you are going to write, suppose you want to create a website which is going to be your profile. You are going to write your entire nice profile, very beautiful profile with your photo, and you are going to write some additional details. And you don't want to write that as a static website and display it in a browser. You can as well as store some relevant data in your database, maybe one of the databases you can use, and then read it using any of these languages and then display it through your front end. So you can use HTML as a front end, and you can use any of these as your business logic. You can write Java if you are comfortable with Java language, or you can write Golang, Google, which has been invented by Google. You have got PHP, which has been available from quite some years. You have Python, which is also helpful for you to write down your business logic code. Then you have Ruby, Scala, Node.js, and C#. So these are the most of the commonly used backend technologies where exactly you can write your server-side code. Okay. After the backend technology, is the one which is going to be there is going to be your databases. So again, databases, there are, as of now, I can say here, there are 3 different types. I'll just write it here. Databases. There are 3 different types. First one, okay, I'll just write it here. First one, can anyone give me the solution? This should be pretty easy. What kind of a database? RDBMS. People know what RDBMS is? Guys, I need an answer from you guys. Any one of you? If you say yes, I'm fine. RDBMS, any guys? Any guess? Anyone? RDBMS is Relational Database Management Systems, where your data is going to be stored in rows and columns. And you would be having a predefined schema. Example I can give you here. I can say an example here. You're going to create a table which is going to having a student table. So student would be the table name, which you have the fields. You can say student name, which is actually string. I'm not writing it in specific to RDBMS. If it is Oracle, you have to write varchar2. You're creating a table, but I'm just giving you an example. It is a string. Then you have a student ID, which is going to be an integer. And dot, whatever is it, you can just have fields here. So this is what is going to be a schema for you, where you're going to have a field names and the related data types of it. Okay, this is how it goes in a RDBMS. And then people do prefer, there are something called as normal forms. This you'll be learning when you're going to have a detailed session on your RDBMS as such. And then most preferable normal form, we call it as the third normal form in RDBMS. Third normal form. And come on. Third normal form. So examples of RDBMS, I'll again write down here. Examples of RDBMS, you can say you have Oracle SQL, MySQL, SQL Server, PostgRE SQL, and another one is there. Okay, but I don't remember. That's fine. So these are all kinds of RDBMS. The next one recently, which came into picture in the market recently, meaning around 4 or 5 years back, it is called as NoSQL. So don't get confused by this name of NoSQL, which says it is NoSQL. No, it is actually meant as not only SQL. Okay, so this has been in picture recently because when you're going to work out with your big data is going to be your Hadoop or big data, whatever is it, the data currently is being running in around terabytes, petabytes, zettabytes on a day. Example, you can take Facebook. Facebook is going to be consuming a lot of data every day. So to store this kind of data, the RDBMS will not work. RDBMS cannot work on handling huge data on this. So for supporting big data, they have come up with something called as NoSQL, which is not only SQL. There are 4 types. I would be sharing this deck to Rohit later, and then you can as well go through this whenever required as such. Okay. I'll just take this off, Control X, and I'll put it here. NoSQL are of 4 types. First one you can say is key value based. So data is going to be stored in key value, and these are all going to be working out with semi-structured and unstructured data. This is all going to be working with semi-structured, like your images, your videos, and Excel sheets, everything you're going to work out in this manner, semi-structured and unstructured data. Whereas SQL is going to be working on only on your structured data. SQL does work on structured data. RDBMS does work on your structured data, whereas NoSQL works on semi-structured and structured data. So the 4 types. One is going to be key value data is going to be storing on key value types. You got your Redis and React as examples. Then you got column-based data is going to be stored in column-based, which is going to be Cassandra and Hadoop, or you can say it as HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File Systems. And then you got something called as, which is stored in document-wise format, document-wise, which is going to be your CouchDB and MongoDB. Okay. And the last one is going to be your graph databases. Graph databases, which is going to be your Neo4j. So these are all different ways how you can store unstructured and semi-structured data. Recently, the third one which came up into market, which is called as distributed SQLs. Earlier SQL, whatever I have mentioned, RDBMS is going to be working only on a single systems. Whenever you are going to make it in working it in a different systems, multiple systems, RDBMS was not able to scale up. So to scale them up, you got up something called as a distributed SQL, which is what works in your entire, what do you say, if you're connecting systems around 7-8 systems, and then you're going to, you can support the same schema in all 7-8 systems. So that is where it's called as distributed SQL, where you can get data from any of the systems. And one of the famous, this is getting up famous nowadays. It is called as CockroachDB. The name cockroach, why they said they have given is because cockroaches actually survived even the extinction of dinosaurs. So they were pretty old and they are surviving from quite lot of years. And then they survived even when dinosaurs got extinct. So that's the reason they came up with a name called as CockroachDB, which works on distributed SQL. So when databases is where you're going to store your data, and you're going to retrieve this data from your backend technologies, whatever called earlier, Java or Golang or PHP or whatever is it, you can connect to the databases and retrieve the data, and you can display those data in front end using your HTML and CSS. And if you're going, is how you go to the entire stack of your front end, back end, and your databases. So these 3 are the most different types of databases which you're going to use. And there are many other databases which do follow the same process. Next one to go ahead is going to be HTML. So I'll give you just a definition of what HTML is. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is the standard markup language for creating web pages, which I've been telling earlier. It's also going to describe you the structure of a web page. So you can actually create a structure of your web page there. And then HTML consists of a series of elements. You can create a lot of elements. That is what is tags, which I was mentioning earlier. HTML elements tell the browser. So you can actually, the browser is going to run your HTML and they display the content what you actually typed in your HTML. And then HTML labels, such as this is the heading, this is the paragraph, this is link. You can put these English statements, which I've already shown you when I was writing your headings, which is going to be starting from H1 to H6. So this is where it's a basic HTML, which is markup language, where you can write your code in English and you can actually display that in your browsers. I'll show you more code on HTML later on, but the simplest one, which I've told you, is is the tags here. You want to actually create another thing, you want something like it, you can use a button tag. You can say button, you can say name, or you can say type. Okay, anything should be work. Type equal to submit, which you can use a submit button as such. You can say click me. So when I'm using my IDE, it is by default giving me the closing tags. Whenever I'm going to write an opening tag, it is going to give me a closing tag as such. But when you're writing it in your Notepad or Notepad++, you don't get this particular close-up tag. So you need to write that code on yourself. Okay. So even when I'm typing this C button type equal to, when I said type equal to, it is giving the options for me, like what all you can put it. You can put it as a button, or you can put it as a menu type. You can put it as a reset, or you can use submit. So I'm just putting a submit tag as of now, submit button as it, submit. And I'm just saving it. Okay, sorry, SUB mighty. So I'm just saving it. And then you can see this particular thing in your browser. When I say, what was that file? Okay, let me go ahead and open it. So this is going to be in your Hello World. Right click, open with the browser. You can use Internet Explorer, Firefox, or whatever browser you use, you can use it. Oh, I think that is not that file. Okay, the file is in a different place. So I need to open this file, right? Okay, I need to open this hello.html in different folder. Okay, so it should come up here and C:/fs. Go ahead into HTML5 and hello.html. Yeah, open with my browser, Google Chrome. You get a button which says click me. As of now, it's not doing anything because I haven't written any functionality on it. Similarly, you can also have a text box. You can say input type equal to text. You can say input type equal to text. You can say, and you can say this /input. What's happening? /input. So go ahead and check this, save it, and put a refresh here. You will get a text box. So if you want to go ahead with a different display this in different line, you're going to use a different tag called as BR, which is going to be a break. For a BR, and you want to have a line break in between, you can say HR, horizontal line, or a break. So you can just see how it is going to separate each of the elements in your HTML. So I'm just going here and reloading them. It goes into a new line, which is going to be because of break, and it is going to give you a line, which is going to be your horizontal line, and after that, it's going to give you your text box. You can also say something called as italics. You can say bold or italics. You can say here in H6, you can also give a different tag called as bold, okay, which is actually going to make your text bold. Or maybe I think they're already bolded. Yeah, they're already bold. So let us write something called as a paragraph here, which you can denote using something called as P as a paragraph. You can say this is a paragraph. And you can actually put multiple things in this between inside this paragraph. You can say bold for B. B bold, and then you close this and put it here, which is going to be /B. And you just save it and reload this. You get this in a bold way. You can also put another thing in this. You can put it as I, which is going to be italic, which is going to display this in italics. The same content what you have seen is going to be given in your italics. I'll just save this and then go here and I just say reload. I'll get this code in italics. So this is pretty simple HTML. You have got a lot of whatever you want to write, you can write on in your HTML as it is, and then you have you can just check on in a net. You can see HTML tags. You will get a HTML. You can say here. You can just go into Google and say HTML tags. It will give you different Java T point. And go to Java T point. It gives you all the HTML tags, which you can use the heading tags. You can close and you can script tags, form tags, table tags. So everything tags, whatever is there, you can actually been given in this particular site. You can as well try with them. Okay, which we are using something called as the body. We used it. We used BR. We used button. So something like that. We have been using some of them in this particular thing. Okay. So let's get back to the next step. What is CSS? Okay, CSS stands for cascading style sheets. So HTML, whatever you have actually typed, whatever you have entered is all giving you a very, very, very plain text. It's pretty plain, and you don't have any different colors or nothing has been actually been given. It is pretty plain. So CSS is actually given to you to beautify your screens. So you can beautify your HTML, and then you can write your CSS code. The definition for it is CSS stands for cascading style sheets. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, and other medias. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. And external style sheets are also, you can store it in CSS files. So I'll just show you an example of CSS here. Let's see something. Which one I can say? Okay, I'll go with index.html. Okay. So I'll just give you an example here. It's an index.html. I've written some HTML, which div is a container based, which you can use. It's a division where you can use it similar to a paragraph. You can use div or a paragraph. You can give an ID equal to container, which is actually going to help you out understand what is the tag or what is the identification of that particular div. So what I've done is I've said body div header. I said in h1 tag my web page, and in this I've given A is going to be your linking. So whenever you're going to link a site to a different location, you can give a ahref. Suppose you want to say ahref equal to some, if you're going to give a site name here, it actually goes into that particular site. I'll show you that. Wait. So let me write in our code. Where is our code? The hello.html. I can say A is an anchor tag. Href is going to be referring to your site. And you can say here http:// google.com. You can say in between, click me to go to Google. Okay. So I'm just saving this. File save. Go ahead in this and reload this. I get a link here. Click me to go to Google. I click it. It goes into google.com. So that is where it's called as A. A tag is going to be a anchor tag where you can go to a different site. Whatever you are going to click it here, give it in your code, it is going to take you there. So which is going to be your ahref tag. So similarly, I'm showing you here my code. I'm just giving it blank because I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just putting it at that particular screen only. So I've taken 4 different things: home, about, services, and contact. And I'm using it in a navigator tag, which is going to be a CSS tag. This is actually going to display my HTML in a more decent way. Without using nav, I'm just going to use this. UL is going to be unordered list. In my class, I'm just putting it here. Go here and I say this. UL is going to be unordered list and LI is going to be a list item. So I'm putting 4 of them things here. I'm writing it here because I'll just show the difference of using CSS and non-CSS. Okay. So go here. I go ahead and I say reload here. I get like this: home, about, services, contact, which is going to be my links here. How does it look when I am going to use CSS? I'll let you know, show in the next coming screens. Okay. So I go up here, go into my index.html. I'm giving these details. Then I'm writing other tags, article tag, and I'm giving history. I just gave some details about yoga. And what I've given is container here. Container, H1 tag. You can just remember the tags what I've given here. I just go up and I'm going to write my CSS in something called as a style tag. Okay. So since this is going to my body here, I can write here body. So this is going to affect my body. Whatever code I write in my body, I'm making my background as a different color, which is going to be gray color. I'm writing my front end as a forecolor is going to be white, and my font going to be Arial. So when I'm going to write this code is there, right? I'm just going to see and open this file, which is going to be index.html. See here, I've already opened it, index.html. I don't think I've opened it. Okay, I'll open it now. Index.html. I'm just going here and open with Google Chrome. See, my background color has been changed here, and my CSS based on this, the color got changed because it was giving us home, about, services, contact, because I've added everything CSS to this particular screen. That's why it is not going to display to you like this, just plain. It is going to give you my different things where you can actually give the color and display it. So I'll show you more CSS screens here, CSS tags here. This particular thing is what I've given it for a body. I kept A here. A is going to be for all your anchor, whatever anchor tags have been given, this particular details is going to be made. Suppose if I change this color, okay, for my anchor tags, if I change the color to say, make it as red, just put it as red here. Oh, sorry. Color column red, and I save it. My anchor tags come up to red color. So this is all because what I have done is in my HTML, I have written my ahref tags, and I'm referencing this A here in my style tag, which is going to be here A, and all wherever I'm going to write any A tags, this is going to be, this particular CSS is going to be added to this particular tags. So earlier I kept it as white. Now I kept it as red. Now if I change this to yellow, suppose if I change my color tags to yellow here, my links, whatever I've given earlier, would change to yellow. That gets applied everywhere. So see here, I go reload, I get yellow color. So wherever tags are there, you can actually give a specific CSS to each of those tags. So okay, I'll just show you other examples here. So I kept it as container. So I've given a div, I've given div ID is container. So I can use that as container here. When I'm going to use my IDs, I can use it as hash container. When I'm using something called as class, I can use dot as a class. So, okay. So go here. I'm giving something called as article, and I'm given some text, plain text, which talks about yoga, and article is there. So I go ahead and here article. Did I write something on article, body, container, nav UL? So I have not written anything on article. Okay, let's change the footer. Okay, I have given a footer here, which says copyright, and the class is given as CLR class and footer here. So I can go here and I can update this. I can, the text element is center here, and my background is something else. So I go to change my background color. I can put it as maybe I can say orange red, ORANGERED, orange red. My color is, background is going to be changed for the footer. I'll show you how it is. Save it here, come over here, and I change, reload it. My color is changed to orange red. So what I'm doing is I'm added CSS to each of my tags. For my footer, this is my footer tag which I've given. I just kept copyright and given copyright of 2020. I went here for my footer. I just given my text alignment is in center. That's the reason I'm going to get my text aligned in center, which is copyright 2020. Then I also given my code as padding is 10 pixels. I'm given 10 pixels. If I change my padding to different size, it gets changed here. And then background, I kept it as orange red, which I got it from orange red. If I change my orange red to any other color, maybe if I keep it as green, my background color does change into green. So I go here and click here and see, my site is going to be changed to green color here. So that is where CSS is helpful for us, where you can change your HTML into a beautification process. So that is what is the difference between, I mean, not the difference. HTML gives you plain text and CSS gets you beautify your screen as per whatever colors you want to put. You want to put a paddings, or you want to put a margin width. You want to put a width of your things, or you want to have a background colors, or you can say alignment center, or whatever height. Suppose if the navigation bar I kept the height as 40 pixels. If I change this to around 130 pixels, my navigation bar height is going to change. I save it here. I go ahead here and I put reload, and my bar got changed because I've given my size as 130 now. So earlier it was 40, and now it became changed because I gave my height. I changed my height to 130 pixels as such. So whatever you change it here in your CSS, which is going to be in your style tag, it is actually going to affect that particular tag, whatever tag. So here I have given my tag, which is navigator UL tag, where I have a UL tag under the navigator here. So this particular details are going to be affected here now. Okay, so that is where the CSS comes into picture, where you can beautify your screens. Okay, after CSS, JavaScript. So we can say JavaScript is a programming language, scripting or programming language that allows you to implement features on web pages. So every time a web page does more than just sit here and display static information, you can actually make some event handling. Suppose I can say, earlier we have written a button here. What was it in our class, in our HTML? We have written a button here. And if we click the button, something has to happen. So you can write it. That particular functionality is going to be written in your JavaScript. I'll show you where I've written an example of JavaScript. Is it there in this class? No, this class is only plain HTML. I don't have a JavaScript here. I'm going to go into a different class. This one, I'll show you. This is going to be a class where I'm just storing my notes. I can show you that. So I give my header as h1, which is going to be my note, and I'm adding some details in my note, and I'm just trying to save my note in the here. And I'm also giving another comment called as clear note. So here I've given something called as ahref on click equal to JavaScript colon clear note. So I'm writing a function which is going to be clear note. So whenever I'm going to click this clear note, it is going to do some action. So this clear note would go into a script tag under head, where I'm writing a function called as clear note, and I say I'm going to clear the code. So this is the code which I've written for clearing the code. So wherever is it, and you're going to use your JavaScript for every action that is going to be, you're going to making an action on your HTML tags. So I said on my ahref, A is going to be my anchor href. On click, I'm asking it to clear the note, and then I just go ahead in my function, I clear the notes. Similarly, I write in other functions where I'm going to save the note. It is going to save the note. So I'll just show you this in the browser. Okay. So let me open my browser and showcase you the node.html. Okay. So this is how I have prepared it. One second. To see that particular console, you have to click F12. If you click F12, you will get this particular console where you are going to write. Earlier, by default, I kept it as go ahead and edit this node to save in storage. So I'm now going to edit this. So I edit here and say, this is my note. So here, what I've done in my JavaScript, I've written a code saying on for this particular thing on key up. So whenever I'm going to type something on my key, it is actually going to call this save note, and it is going to save the. It is going to call this function, and it is going to save my details. So I'll show you where it is saving. So I kept it here in F12. I went into application, and I kept save note. This is my note. So I can say select a preview here. The note, I'm selecting it here, and it gives you whatever I have written here. It is going to give it as here. This is my note. Suppose I change it and add another comment. I have extended my note. Again, it is being displayed here. It says, this is my note, and I have extended my note here. And it is giving a BR, which is going to be break, which as I have written it in the next line. So I can again add something called as it. This is now becoming a paragraph from a line. Okay, everything is getting stored up here. That is where is save function. Now what I do, I say clear note. Everything is cleared. My data is not available here. So this is where events on the actions or on the HTML, my HTML clear note and on my HTML keynotes, I am calling some different JavaScript values, JavaScript code, and that is getting acted here. So HTML is going to give you a pure plain text. Whatever you want to do, you can create it in a HTML. CSS is going to make it beautify the script, beautify that HTML code, and it makes you whatever, however you want to display it, you can display it using CSS. And then JavaScript is being used to make some actions on the events. So you have a button click, or you can have a clear note click. Wherever you are going to have it, you can write a function and you can click them. That is where you can do some functionality on your JavaScript. I'll again show you another function here in our code. What we have written, we can say hello.html. No, not this one. Index.html. Where is our code? Hello.html. Okay, my button is here, right? Click me. I can say here on click equal to, we can say any function name, or you can write it here itself. You can say okay, call clicked. Okay, I'm just writing a function called as call clicked, which I can write it in my head. I can say it as slash. What's happening? Why again head here? This script slash script, and I can write my function here. I can say function call clicked. You can say alert. I have been clicked. What happened? Why is this giving an error here? Not HTML function. What happened? What it is saying? Why semicolon expected? Kept it semicolon, right? Okay. Why it is asking semicolon here? Maybe I've made some mistake somewhere. I just spoiled up the code here. On click equal to call clicked. Okay. When somewhere there's an issue, okay, it's not allowing me on this, but this is how we write their JavaScript. I'll just show you in this particular save. Here in node.html, you can say clear note, and you can also mention here, I can say something called as alert. I have been clicked, and then write a code here. Say file save. Go ahead into this. Go here, and you click. You need to check it in your console. Or wait, I'll write a different statement here. Not alert will not work here. It will work out here with console.log. I'm logging it in my console.log. I have been clicked. Okay, so file, save it. Go ahead here and then click, reload this, and you say click here in the console. What's happening? Somewhere it's not taking some issue. Okay, fine, just leave that. You can just go ahead and see here. You can use the details here and write down. Okay. Index.html here, and you can just show the index.html. Where is it? It is not displayed here. Okay, fine. Just go ahead and index.html. I'm just going to open with Google Chrome. It gives my index.html here. What next is going to after JavaScript? You can say PHP. PHP is again a server-side programming language. So what it is called as PHP is an acronym for PHP Hypertext Processor. So it is the full form of that hypertext processor. PHP is widely used open source scripting language and are executed on the server side. So this doesn't get executed on the client side. These get executed on the server side. So HTML and JavaScript and CSS do get executed in the client side in the browsers. Okay. Whereas the PHP, and as I already mentioned earlier in my particular screen here, you go ahead here, and these are all backend technologies or server-side technologies where these work, and these do business logic processing in the backend. Okay. The next one goes up is servers. So what is a server? A server is a computer equipped with specific programs and or hardware. So in simple words, okay, rather than going through this particular definitions of server is basically another system where you can actually suppose you can talk about, I was talking about the domain name, right? You don't know where the domain name is actually stored. Okay, this domain that is going to be stored in some different server, wherever some different server is there, it is going to be stored in some GoDaddy servers somewhere else, and they're going to give access to that particular spot to you. And then where you're going to actually deploy your code in that particular server, and you display the code to others. So server is something where it is going to display the code what you have written, and that code is being displayed to you through the browser. So you can actually deploy your code in the server by writing your code in your database and also in your Java or PHP or Golang code, where you can write a server-side programming, where you can read data from your HTML, and then you can either save it in your database, or you can get the data from the database and display it in your HTML as such. So that is where servers are given, where exactly you are going to be storing or deploying your code in a different machines, and which you make it available most of the time, because if the server goes down, then your code is not going to be, or your site is going to be down. The next one is web page or server interactions. So web page is what I've actually showed you earlier. Google.com is a web page where it is going to give you details on your whatever is going to be displayed. That is particular site is being deployed earlier in your different Google server, and then that is being displayed to you through when you're going to click your the particular domain name. So you go here and talk to it. The definition: web page is specific collection of information provided by a website and displayed to user in a web browser. A website typically consists of many web pages. Suppose here you can, I haven't written the code for all of them, but if I go and click in this particular file, which is going to be my index.html, here generally I haven't written code for other things, but if I click about, it is going to go to different page. So services is there. Wherever you click it, it goes to different pages here. That is where it's going to be displayed. And then a website typically consists of many web pages linked to each other. The name web page is a metaphor of pages displayed in a book. So together, if you why it came, because in a book you have multiple pages. Similarly, in a website you will have multiple pages as such. And then you have got something called the web applications. A web application is a computer program that utilizes web browsers and web technology to perform tasks over the internet. Here, what does it do? User triggers a request to the web server over internet. Suppose you can say any domain name. So we can take it google.com itself, either the web browser or the application's user interface. Web server then forwards this request to the appropriate web application server. So wherever the google.com is actually deployed, it is going to send the request to that particular system boss. Someone is calling you, someone is asking you to be displayed. Web application server then performs the requested task. It queries the database on the process, and then it generates the result, which is called as the response. This is actually called as request, and this is actually called as response. So web server then responds you back, and here you go. This is the Google site. So web server sends results to the web server. Sorry, web application server sends results to the web server with the requested information, and then it displays the details. So when I am going to talk to you about multiple sites here, I just close this. I'll close this. I'll also close this and put it up here. We can say google.com, or I was talking about YouTube. Okay, you can talk to youtube.com. YouTube is again displayed, stored in some other server, and when I'm actually calling it, that server is responding back to me, and it is giving me the YouTube details here. So that is what is going to be your web server, which is being stored in a different location. And then next one is going to be frameworks. Okay, when you're going to talk about frameworks, I was earlier talking to you about 3 different frameworks, which are going to be your JavaScript frameworks, Angular, then you have React, and you have got Vue.js. Those 3 are pretty important for us nowadays because most of the front end is being worked on those frameworks. So I I just give you a overview of what is what. So I just enlarged my screen here. So 3 different things. You can talk about features. Angular is going to be an open source JavaScript framework. Vue.js is also going to be an open source JavaScript framework. And you talk about React.js, it's going to be a front-end JavaScript library. It is not a framework, but it's a library. What does it do? This is a full-fledged MVC framework. I think you all know what MVC is, Model View Controller. So Angular is going to be showing it for every component. It has a model, view, and a controller. Whereas the Vue.js, it is only going to focus on the view and the model layer of MVC framework. And React.js only has the view part of the MVC framework. It doesn't go ahead with the model or the controller part of it. So Angular is developed by Google. Vue.js is developed by Ivan Yu, a Google employee, and React.js is developed by Facebook. Some primary use cases, I mean, which are the websites which are actually going to use Angular? They are Forbes, Nike, Upwork, Sony, HBO. Which use Vue.js are MI, Alibaba, Grammarly, and Adobe. React.js, you have what Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, Dropbox. A lot of sites are currently using React. React has a more used than other 2. This is okay. Performance you can ignore it. It's going to be too much of it for you right now. Angular uses two-way binding, which is going to be both client and server, as it is doing as MVC framework. React also uses two-way binding, whereas Vue.js uses two-way binding, whereas React uses only one-way binding because it's only working on the view part. Okay, and you can say the community support for Angular there is going to be 556 repositories, for Vue 306, 3 are not right, and then for React is 1 million. So this is more commonly being used, and this is statistics which is being used. So this is where you are going to be using a framework. A code is going to be a little bit different from the JavaScript. Each has its own framework. Maybe I can showcase one of them if I have it with me. Okay, this is Svelte. Okay, I just go ahead and see if I can display this. I'll just remove this code. Okay, I can say here, this is another JavaScript framework, Svelte. I'm just going to say npm run dev. So this is running on port localhost 5000. So just go ahead and here click localhost :5000. Svelte is again another JavaScript framework similar to React. So this gives me details here. You can say go ahead, name, and this is actually going to be giving in a different format, the same HTML and JavaScript, but it is a different framework, which is going to be JavaScript framework here. I think this is working or not. I didn't check this. Say hi, and then reset button gets enabled. Okay, so it is not clearing it here because of this code. I need to remove this. I just need to remove this here, and let's say file save, and go ahead here and as a click reload, and then it clears. We enter any text here. I have entered the text. Now this is not HTML and JavaScript. It is from a framework which is called as Svelte. It is like a JavaScript framework. I've written here and say, I'll just show you the code here. It's a bit different than what I showed you earlier. See, I go ahead here Rather than writing my H1, I kept it as something called as a label tag here. I put my name and then I kept the placeholder there, and this is button here. But here, when I'm going to write my code, I'm going to change it in, I'm going to import the navbar from a navbar Svelte. So wherever I'm going to write my JavaScript, it is not going to be a plain JavaScript. It is going to be a different specific server-side framework JavaScript here. Similarly, you have a different code for React, different code for Vue.js, and different code for Angular. Okay, and then full stack developer. Okay, so what does a full stack developer do? As what I'll put it here. Full stack developer does refers to an entire computer system or application from front end to back end and the software code that connects these two. So here, a full stack person is a person who is going to handle all the above three, what I have mentioned. He should be comfortable in handling one of the technologies from the front end technologies, one of the technologies from the back end, and one from the database. So he can be a master, or he can actually work on in pretty strong, being strong in HTML, CSS, and then he can use something called as a PHP, and then he can use a database MySQL. So he should be knowing a knowledge of all the three, which is going to be a front end, back end technologies, and databases. That is going to be a full stack developer. And the case studies is what is going to be here. Just giving you an examples like Google. What did Google do? Google used front end as going to be a JavaScript and TypeScript as the front end code. Back end code is written in C, C++, Golang, Java, and Python. Whereas my database is going to be Bigtable and MariaDB. So Bigtable is again going to be what I told is a column based. Earlier I mentioned in this, right? Where is it? I mentioned here column based. So here I can also write Google Bigtable. This is for the Google Bigtable here. And then you go with Facebook. It is front end is going to be JavaScript and lot of backend technologies which is being used here. And the database what they used were MariaDB, MySQL, HBase, and Cassandra. And MariaDB again comes here as a RDBMS. MariaDB comes here. Here it comes as a MariaDB also. MariaDB. So here, Facebook has Facebook has used multiple things. They have used MySQL and MariaDB, which is going to be MySQL, and then HBase and Cassandra, where they were using NoSQL to handle the lot of inflows based on the big data. Then you got YouTube. They were using JavaScript as the front end, C, C++, Python, Java, Go, and they've been using Bigtable and MariaDB. So similarly, Amazon used JavaScript, Java, and PostgreSQL. RDS is going to be a cloud-based Amazon RDS. It's actually being a database given by Amazon Web Services, which is RDS, and Aurora is also another database which has been given by Amazon AWS. And Wikipedia uses JavaScript as a front end, PHP as middleware, or we can the backend, server-side programming, and MariaDB as a database. So what is a full stack developer must be having knowledge on all the three, front end, back end, and databases. Okay, so this is where I close my webinar here, and then I think Rohit is going to giving you two different scenarios for you guys to work on with HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Rohit, can you please share that to the team? Rohit? The two tasks, what you're supposed to give to the client, to the team.
Sir, tomorrow we will share with them, sir. Not today.
Not today?
Not today.
No, give them it today, right? So they'll have some time to work till tomorrow.
Okay. Actually, we're gonna start at tomorrow 9 a.m. So it will be after planning, like.
Fine then. However you decide, you can just.
From tomorrow morning 9, and we will be ending at day after tomorrow 9. So
okay.
we'll get 24 hours time to work on it.
No problem. It's how you can decide how you want. So now I open the floor for the questions. So you have any questions, you can ask me, and I am going to help you out. And I'm going to share this particular document to Rohit, and he's going to share it to you all, guys.
Hello?
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I hope this session is very interactive and everyone got the information regarding web development.
No,
so,
I think
before proposing a vote of thanks, I would like to explain the instructions about the webathon, which is going to happen tomorrow. So, coming to the first, at 8:45 a.m., we're gonna have a inaugural session from CSR Regional Vice President Prasad Babu Garu, and at 9 a.m. we will be sharing you a Google form which has problem statements, and you will be working on from 9 a.m. 25th July to 9 a.m. 26th July, and you need to submit your work in GitHub, and in a next 5 minutes we will be telling you how can you host and how can you create your GitHub pages. Okay, and at the end we will be sharing a Google form for submission where you can give your GitHub page link and GitHub profile so that we will evaluate it. Okay, so now this is Rohit from CSR MVSR student branch, and I'm going to explain you about how can GitHub will be helpful to students, and how can you host your pages. Okay, sir. Sir, please turn off your.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me share it to you, and then I'll turn off. I'm just checking one. Where is that web development? Okay. Okay, I've shared it to you on WhatsApp. You just share it to other people. Okay.
And any of one is having a query or questions to the sir, please come forward. Hello, I repeat, any of the people, any one of one can ask the sir about anything doubts you are having.
Okay, I want to share one more. Just I want to share it once again. The last one. Where to share it? Okay, present now. I'm sharing it. It's another one which I want to just share it for people. I have also written another code on the audio video, how to display audio video.
Oh, okay.
So this is again very simple one. I kept a button click. Get element by ID is I'm using my audio here. An audio tag where I kept is my audio, and I'm using it my audio to play, pause, volume, and volume up and volume down. Okay, this is for my audio, and also for my video. I just kept I've given here another video tag, which I've set as ID. I've given as my video, and I'm saying document.get element by ID. So this is going to be my JavaScript function, and I'm calling my video. So I'm just going and I'm giving it as play. So you can just see how it works here. I go ahead in audio video.html. Okay. So this is my video. I can say here play. What's happening? So just I've given a try on this. I can also go ahead and put it here, picture in picture. You get a different picture here. So this is how you can play your audio as a video. For your audio also, you can play it. You can say this. Okay. You can reduce the volume here, or you can update words. Okay. You can put pause and you can play it. Okay. So this is how you can use it your audio and video here. The simple, it's very simple code. I might as well share this code to you guys so you can use it. But I think you need to, in your source, you need to give your own video and own audio. This will not work. So I'm just putting this code and I'm sharing it with Rohit. So you can as well execute this code for your audio and video. Okay, where is it? WhatsApp. Okay, Rohit, you can share this to the team. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you just need to do one thing. You just need to have it in the same folder and replace your source where you're going to use file name. Give your file name for source in both audio and in the video. That's it. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, guys, open for questions.
Okay.
Or you can as well ask the questions in a written format to Rohit, and he'll share it to me, and I can update. I can as well send it to you guys. I'm giving my mail ID to you guys. You can as well reach out to me whenever required for any help.
People don't left the meeting. The meeting is still on.
You can use this.
Anyone from the participants, please ask question. Any one question you're willing to do.
Okay, if no questions, then I'll close.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Webinar.
Please be present for next 10 minutes also.
Okay.
Okay. I'm presenting now. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen, people?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay. Okay, today I'm going to explain you about how can you use GitHub and how can you collaborate, add your projects onto GitHub. So people, please log on to github.com. Everyone, please. Hello. Any replies, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Later on, first you need to sign. I hope all the people have your college email IDs so that it will be fine for you to use your college email IDs, because GitHub is providing a student developer account. So you will be getting a bunch of tools for free. So it will be useful for you if you use your college mail ID, or later on you can add it. So right here, I will use my, let's see, CSI, VSR Fusion, rate of gmail.com. Okay, right. Sorry, it's a user ID. Sorry. CSI MBSR is a username, and CSI MBSR Fusion, rate of gmail.com. Email ID, and I'll be giving something like the Fusion. Okay. Right now, after filling username, email, and password, click on sign up. And upon verifying your account, you need to solve a puzzle. You need to state this up. Okay. Join a free plan. Your account will be creating in fraction of seconds. Okay, you are welcome to GitHub, and this is our account. And now you need to go to your repositories. Okay, and in the this is the place where you have to upload your projects onto GitHub. So right now am going to upload a project. Okay, it's telling to recent verification mail. Okay, I need to verify my account. Okay. Okay, I've completed my verification. I will reload it. Okay, so I don't know, 1 minute. Okay, this is fine, but hello, you people can hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. Right. Okay, I mean, I hope you have verified your emails, but there is an issue with me, so I will
Anna,
log
go
out.
to Gmail account and verify the email address.
It will be nice for me.
Hello, Rohit Anna. Okay. Hello.
I will be signing into my actual account. So this is a dashboard I'm having, and coming to your repositories, and these are the projects I have done in the past. So I'm going to add the new one. Okay, and you will be coming to this position, and you need to give a repository name. Means what is the project name, such kind of thing. I will give you basic HTML code or HTML code. That's all. So you can, it's optional, you can give your description, and please put this on public, because anyone from around the world can see your project and he can appreciate you. Okay, and upon creating repository, okay, so I have created my repository. Okay, and I can import my code, or else I can clone. Cloning is a part that there is an software called GitLabs or Git. From Git, from your command line, you can upload your projects onto the Git. So there is no worry. We will be uploading them right here. A minute. Choose a file from your system. So I will be creating a HTML code. I will be writing a basic HTML code in this. It's a page. The board. I'm writing just a header file. Okay. I've saved the .html. I'm saying this file as .html so that it will be created as HTML file. Right now I'll open, this is the page, and back to the GitHub, choose your files to upload, desktop, what's the file name? HTML code.html, and you can see now the HTML code has been uploaded into the repository. So now click on commit changes. Your files will be processed. Okay, you can see now in my repositories, you can see HTML code.html. On clicking this, you can see the code. Whatever code I have written in the HTML document, it is visible now. And now GitHub has another option that you can generate this as a URL. I mean, you can generate this as a link. So there is an on the right corner. You can see 3 dots. On clicking this, you will get into settings. In the settings, scroll down, and you can see GitHub pages as a label. Okay, people, are you following? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
You will find a label called GitHub pages. Right down to the source, there is a drop down button where you need to click as master branch. Upon clicking master branch, the page will be reloaded, and you will get a link at the bottom like this. It's https this is my actual username, so .github.io, and HTML code is a link for it. So upon clicking open link in new page, and at the starting you will be seeing that there is no page. So I'm going to clear it down, because I'm going to clear your doubt that why it's showing the 404 page, because when actually the site is referring to your repository, that is our repository name is HTML code, so it is referring to HTML code. So actually my HTML file is HTML code.html, means my file is inside the HTML repository. So I need to add HTML code.html. Upon clicking this, you can see CSMVS student match. Okay, this is a way you can create the link. Okay, I hope everyone got. So for tomorrow, you need to upload all your files in the Git by this method. After uploading, you are going to share this kind of link for us. Okay, so that directly we can view your page, and there is no wear and tear we can do. So we can directly view your page. So okay, I hope you understood all the topics I have told you, and today I am going to explain you about another topic. Next thing is Git. Please click. Please type GitHub education. So I've told you about your college mail IDs, because GitHub education is providing us a bunch of tools. There are about 100 types of tools for free for college students. I mean, who are having a college email ID, they can access to the GitHub Education. So I'm going to show how can you access that. So coming to GitHub Education, on clicking it, there's an error actually. I don't know why this is coming up. 1 minute. I hope there are some server issues with them. I don't know. 1 minute. I'll be opening it in other tab. Education. Or else you can click directly GitHub Student Developer Pack. It will be fine. You can see the dashboard will be in this kind. So upon you can find Get the Pack. So upon clicking this, sorry, I hope there is some issue with GitHub. I don't know. Oh, you can see actually it is already referred to my account. Okay, right. Okay, I can explain you right now. Upon going to this link, I mean education.github.com, you will find such kind of link, and upon clicking the Get the Pack, you will be redirected to your user ID and login password. After successfully entering the user ID and password of GitHub, and you will be returning down to such tools. There's an heading called the tools. These are the tools I am telling about. There are about 100 plus tools in GitHub. They are for free. I mean, for one, there is an name.com. Name.com is actually a web hosting service where in this you will be getting one free domain name. I hope sir explained you about what is domain and how can you host the things. So you will be getting one free domain of your choice, and there are so many options like in name.com. And coming to Canva, if you are a designing enthusiast, I mean you are more fond to designing and such kind of thing, Canva is the best platform to create the content. I mean for creative look and for doing posters, certificates and such kind of things, Canva is the best thing I can tell you. And it is going to be 1 year free subscription if you get this if you get access to this GitHub developer account. So and AWS Educate, you will be access to AWS Cloud and free trainings from the AWS educators. There are about some hundreds of educators in AWS Cloud. They will be teaching you about cloud services and what are the futures AWS has, and you will be getting this for free. And coming to Unity, Unity is a game search game engine where you can, if you are a gaming enthusiast, you can get through Unity. And Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure is again a cloud where you will be getting the services and learning resources, and it's for free. And how much this cost? $100. $100 you will be getting free. And there are again some lots of benefits you will be getting from this. The Bootstrap video. Bootstrap Studio is actually a platform where you can develop websites, responsive websites using Bootstrap. And again, Bootstrap is an advanced technology you can use in your websites, and it is better useful. I mean, you need to learn this kind of technologies if you want to be survive in this world. And front-end masters, Erico, GitHub, 1 month. DataCamp. DataCamp is again a data science online platform where you can learn about data science. If you want to be a data scientist, this is the best platform, I can tell you. And and you will get an interactive platform where you can develop your code in this data camp. And there are some bunch of other tools you can use it for free. So Arduino education, from Arduino, I know everyone know about Arduino. What is Arduino? It's a microprocessor. So you can it's actually, there is an IDE called Arduino IDE where you can code for Arduino. It is very nice actually. And Atom is an web editor. I mean text editor. Sorry, text editor. You can code in it. Actually, it's a platform for coding, and you can also do Python coding in Atom. I mean Python and all the other stuff. Desktop. Typeform is again a interactive forms like Google Forms. They have developed a Typeform. It's more interactive and more designable, customizable, and you are getting this for 1 year free, and it's a professional plan. It's not a basic one. And Flatiron School, it is also an online learning platform for web development, and you will be getting this for 1 month free. Okay, and there are so many of such. There are hundreds of. This is the last, I hope so. And by accessing to these accounts, you will be getting all these tools for free. Okay. I hope there is some issue with this, but you will receive this this one. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. I hope the session was so interactive. Okay. Over to Sujita. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. On behalf of CSI MVSR, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed for organizing this webinar on web development. At the outset, I thank our speaker, Mr. Kiran Kumar sir. We're really enlightened, and also a special thanks to the student coordinators for their support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to all the participants for an active participation. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to the end of this session, and thank you.